You don't cross me off the table. This damn table is mine.
I'm just an ordinary guy living what I thought was a pretty standard life. My name's Marcus, and I've been married to Emma for about 14 months now. Every morning when I wake up next to her, I still can't believe how lucky I am. She's brilliant, compassionate, gorgeous, and has this incredible ability to make everything seem easier just by being there. From day one, she made me feel like I could accomplish anything. Our wedding vows meant everything to me. I run a modest auto parts shop that keeps me occupied without overwhelming me. It gives me purpose while leaving plenty of time for Emma. She works remotely as a financial consultant, which is basically code for being a genius with spreadsheets and numbers. Half the time, I don't understand what she's doing, but watching her work is impressive. She could probably fix the national deficit over her morning espresso. Life's been pretty great for us. We've got this easy routine that just works. We share breakfast, tackle our work days, then evenings are my favorite part. We cook together, though, honestly, Emma does the real cooking while I pretend to be useful. Then we either stream something or sit outside talking about everything or nothing. Sometimes we laugh until our stomachs ache. Other times we just appreciate the silence together. Don't get me wrong, marriage isn't some fantasy where everything's perpetually perfect. We've had our disagreements like any couple. The difference is we actually value each other enough to talk through problems instead of letting them fester. We don't allow petty arguments to drag on, but navigating Emma's social circle has been interesting, to say the least. I'm glad she has her own friends. They're important to her, which makes them matter to me. If I'm totally honest, though, her crew can be overwhelming. They're extremely close-knit, and I constantly feel like an outsider looking in. They've known Emma forever, and I'm just the husband who showed up later. There's one friend who really stands out, though. Jennifer. She's the undisputed leader who controls the entire group's atmosphere. When Jennifer's happy, everyone's having a blast. When she's not, you're basically walking on eggshells all evening. She carries herself like she's perpetually 3 steps ahead of everyone, always in complete control. She's not overtly cruel, at least not initially, but there's this subtle undertone that makes you feel judged even when she's smiling at you. Despite the occasional awkwardness, I've genuinely tried to fit in. Emma treasures these friendships, and I refuse to be the reason she feels torn. So I show up at their dinners, their brunches, their various gatherings. I smile, make conversation, and laugh at jokes that aren't particularly funny. It's not always comfortable, but for Emma, it's absolutely worth it. At least that's what I kept telling myself. Looking back now, maybe I should have trusted my gut more. Maybe I should have noticed the subtle ways Jennifer would test boundaries. Those little insults disguised as compliments. How she'd monopolize conversations while making me feel like an afterthought. But at the time, I brushed it off, convincing myself it didn't matter because Emma and I were solid. If only I'd known what was brewing. Hindsight really is perfect vision, and man were they right about that. What began as a seemingly harmless dinner invitation would become a defining moment that tested everything, my patience, my dignity, and my marriage. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I remember exactly when Emma mentioned the dinner. It was an ordinary Tuesday evening, nothing special expected. I'd just gotten home from work, tired but satisfied, and Emma was in the kitchen preparing a salad while humming along to some pop song on the radio. These were the moments that made me appreciate how simple and beautiful life could be. "Hey, Marcus," she said casually. "Jennifer and the girls are organizing dinner at Chez Laurent this Friday. You know that upscale French place downtown? They said we should both come." I paused mid-reach for the remote. "We?" I asked, genuinely surprised. Usually Emma's group activities didn't include me unless it was someone's birthday or anniversary. "Yes, we," she laughed at my expression. "Apparently Jennifer insisted. She mentioned it's been forever since you joined us and thought it'd be nice for you to spend time with everyone. You've been working so hard lately, you deserve a good evening out." That was red flag number 1. Jennifer specifically insisting I come? That felt wrong. Jennifer wasn't exactly known for her inclusive nature, especially regarding me. She'd always been cordial enough, but I could tell she didn't think highly of me. I didn't come from the same wealthy background as Emma's other friends, and while Emma never cared about that, Jennifer's passive-aggressive comments over the years had made her opinion crystal clear. Still, I didn't want to create problems. "Sure," I shrugged. "Why not? Could be fun seeing everyone." Emma smiled, clearly pleased. "Great, it's at 7 on Friday. Oh, and Jennifer mentioned it's more formal than usual, so maybe wear your charcoal suit. The one that makes you look like you stepped off a magazine cover. I chuckled at her shameless flattery, but agreed. The suit was fine, and honestly, the thought of Emma beaming at me all night made the dinner prospect slightly less intimidating. The rest of the week passed normally, but I couldn't shake this weird feeling. Something about the invitation didn't sit right. Maybe it was how Emma had casually dropped Jennifer's name like that should convince me. Or maybe my instincts were warning me this evening wouldn't be as straightforward as it seemed. Friday arrived, and Emma seemed genuinely excited while getting ready. She chose this stunning emerald dress that made her look absolutely radiant. I felt proud to have her beside me. "You're going to turn heads tonight," I told her as we got in the car. She just smiled and squeezed my hand. We arrived at Chez Laurent slightly before 7. The restaurant screamed high-end French establishment with its dim lighting, soft classical music, and servers who looked like they'd walked straight out of a luxury catalog. Emma's friends were already seated at a table near the room's center, laughing and chatting like they owned the place. As we approached, I noticed something strange. The table was set for 8 people, and every single seat was occupied. I counted twice to make sure I wasn't imagining things. 8 people, 8 seats, and Emma and I made 10. Jennifer spotted us and waved, her smile wide and full of something I couldn't identify. "Emma! Marcus! So glad you made it!" she called out. Emma stepped forward to hug Jennifer while I hung back awkwardly. Jennifer," I said, gesturing toward the table. "I think there's been some confusion. There's no seat for me." Jennifer tilted her head, her smile never faltering. "Oh, didn't Emma tell you? We only made reservations for 8. But don't worry, I'm sure the staff can bring an extra chair for you." The way she said it so casually, like I was some last-minute addition, made my blood run cold. Emma looked flustered, glancing between Jennifer and me like she was trying to figure out how to fix this. "I didn't realize," Emma stammered. Jennifer interrupted her. "It's really no big deal. Marcus can sit at the end, or if it's easier, he can wait at the bar while we catch up. This is more of a girls' thing anyway." There it was. Red flag number 2. I felt anger rising, but forced myself to stay composed. I glanced at Emma, hoping she'd say something, anything to defend me. But she just looked away, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. "Don't worry about it," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I'll figure it out." I stepped away from the table, letting the humiliation sink in as I walked toward the bar. Sitting down and ordering a drink I didn't want, one thought kept repeating. This wasn't a mistake. This was deliberate. And I wasn't going to let it slide. Not this time. Sitting at that bar wasn't how I'd pictured my evening. There I was, nursing whiskey I didn't really want, while Emma and her friends laughed and chatted just feet away. I could see everything. The carefully arranged table, the sparkling wine glasses, and those 8 chairs filled with people who seemed perfectly content pretending I didn't exist. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't furious. But more than angry, I was confused. What was the point of inviting me if there wasn't even a place for me? It didn't take genius-level thinking to realize this wasn't some innocent oversight. This was calculated, probably orchestrated by Jennifer. What hurt most wasn't even Jennifer's audacity. It was Emma's silence. From the moment we arrived, she hadn't said one word in my defense. Sure, she looked uncomfortable, maybe embarrassed, but she hadn't stood up for me. Not once. That stung worse than any of Jennifer's passive-aggressive remarks ever could. I watched as servers brought out the first course, some tiny fancy thing that looked more artistic than edible. Jennifer was thriving, commanding every conversation with her usual dramatic flair. She was leaning hard into her role as the group's queen bee, sharing stories about her latest vacation and name-dropping people I'd never heard of but was apparently supposed to find impressive. Emma looked out of place, though. She laughed when appropriate and nodded along, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. It was subtle, but I knew her well enough to see it. She wasn't comfortable. She didn't belong there any more than I did. The bartender eventually wandered over, probably sensing my mood. "Can I get you anything else?" he asked politely. I shook my head. "I'm good, thanks." But I wasn't good at all. I couldn't stop thinking about how this situation made me feel like an outsider in my own marriage. Emma and I were supposed to be a team. We'd promised each other that. Yet here I was on the sidelines while she sat at that table with people who clearly didn't respect me, or her, honestly. The more I thought about it, the clearer everything became. This wasn't just about me. It was about Emma too. Jennifer's little stunt wasn't merely a dig at me, it was a power play. She wanted to remind Emma and probably everyone else that she was in charge, that her opinion mattered most, and Emma had let it happen. Maybe not intentionally, but by not standing up for me or herself, she'd given Jennifer exactly what she wanted. I took another sip, trying to calm the storm building inside me. I wanted to march over there, pull Emma aside, and demand to know why she hadn't done anything. But I knew that wouldn't solve anything. It would just make things worse. So I waited. The main course came and went. From my seat, I could hear conversation snippets. Jennifer was talking about some gala she'd attended, going into excessive detail about her designer dress and the exclusive crowd she'd mingled with. It was all so shallow, so performative. I couldn't help wondering what Emma saw in these people. They weren't her equals, not really. Emma was genuine, kind, grounded. She didn't need designer clothes or exclusive reservations to prove her worth. So why was she trying so hard to fit into their world? By dessert, I'd had enough. I put down my empty glass and walked back to the table. As I approached, the laughter died and all eyes turned to me. "Marcus," Jennifer said with exaggerated surprise, "we were wondering where you'd gone. You missed such a lovely dinner." I smiled, but it was cold. "I didn't go anywhere, Jennifer. I've been sitting at the bar all night, but thanks for noticing." Her smile faltered briefly before recovering. "Well, I hope you enjoyed yourself. Such a shame we couldn't squeeze you in." I nodded, my gaze unwavering. "It's funny how there was room for 8 people, but not 9. Emma's face turned bright red and she opened her mouth to speak, but I held up my hand. "It's fine. I'm not upset. I just wanted to say goodbye before leaving. Emma, I'll see you at home." With that, I turned and walked out. Stepping into the cool night air, I felt both anger and relief. I didn't know what would happen next, but one thing was certain. Things couldn't stay this way. Something had to change. I drove home in silence that night, the dinner tension weighing heavily on my chest. I didn't want to explode when Emma got home, so I decided to walk and clear my head. Fresh air usually helped me think, though this time it just made me replay everything. Jennifer's smug face, her condescending tone, that line about it being such a shame we couldn't squeeze you in. It wasn't a mistake. It was deliberate. She wanted to send a message that I didn't belong. And the worst part, Emma had just let it happen. When Emma finally came through the door later, I could tell she was uneasy. She hesitated in the doorway like she wasn't sure whether to approach me or give me space. I let her speak first. "I'm sorry about tonight," she said softly, setting her purse down. I didn't realize Jennifer would pull something like that. I turned to look at her. "You didn't realize? Really, Emma? This is Jennifer we're talking about." Her shoulders slumped. "I know she can be difficult, but I didn't think she'd be so petty. I didn't know what to say without causing a scene." I let out a humorless laugh. "A scene? Emma? She humiliated me in front of everyone, and you were worried about making a scene?" She flinched at my tone, and for a moment I regretted snapping. But the frustration was too much to ignore. "Emma, I'm your husband. We're supposed to have each other's backs, but tonight I felt completely alone. Jennifer might have been pulling the strings, but you let it happen. Do you understand how that feels?" She opened her mouth, closed it, clearly at a loss. After a long pause, she finally said, "I didn't mean to make you feel that way. I just didn't know how to handle it. Jennifer's Jennifer. She's been part of my life forever, and sometimes it's easier to just let her win." "Let her win?" I repeated incredulously. "Emma, this isn't a game. This is our marriage. If you let people like Jennifer walk all over us, it doesn't just hurt me. It hurts us both. Do you even see that?" She didn't answer. Instead, she sat at the kitchen table, hands clasped tightly. For a moment, the only sound was the refrigerator's faint hum. Finally, she spoke, barely above a whisper. "I guess I've been so afraid of losing them that I didn't think about what it's costing me." That caught me off guard. "Losing them?" She nodded. "Jennifer, the group, all of it. I've known them forever, and they've always been there. Even when they're difficult, even when Jennifer acts like this, they're still a huge part of my life. But tonight, I saw things differently. I saw how it affected you, and I realized maybe I've been holding on to the wrong things." Her words softened some of my anger, but didn't erase it. "Emma," I said firmly but calmly, "I understand Jennifer's been in your life a long time, but that doesn't give her the right to treat me or you like we're beneath her. And it doesn't mean you have to keep accepting it. You're better than that. We're better than that." She looked up at me, eyes glistening. "I know," she said quietly. I'm sorry, Marcus. I really am. I'll talk to Jennifer. I'll make it clear this can't happen again. I nodded, though I wasn't entirely convinced. Words were easy. Action was harder. But for now, I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt. After all, Emma wasn't the enemy here. Jennifer was. And if Emma was willing to take a stand, maybe we could finally put this behind us. But as days passed, I couldn't shake the feeling that Jennifer wasn't finished. People like her never were. She thrived on control, on making others feel small. Something told me she wasn't going to let this go without a fight. And I wasn't going to let her win. Not this time. So I waited, watched, and prepared for whatever came next. Because if Jennifer wanted a battle, I was ready. But she wasn't going to drag Emma or me down without a fight. Something shifted in me after that conversation with Emma. Maybe it was the raw honesty in her voice, or how she admitted her fear of losing people who didn't deserve her loyalty. Whatever it was made me realize I needed to stay calm, steady, and focused. If Jennifer wanted to play games, I wasn't going to stoop to her level, but I also wasn't going to let her humiliate me again. Emma said she'd talk to Jennifer, but I didn't put much faith in that. Not because I didn't trust Emma, I did, but because I knew Jennifer too well by now. She wasn't someone who backed down easily. She thrived on control, manipulation, and most of all, attention. And if there was one thing she hated more than anything, it was losing her grip on someone she thought she owned. So instead of dwelling on what might happen, I decided to observe. I wanted to see how far Jennifer would go, how deep her need for control really ran. I wanted to understand her game not just for my sake, but for Emma's too. The first real test came days later when Emma mentioned another dinner party. This one wasn't as formal as the last, but Jennifer would be there with the rest of the group. Emma seemed nervous bringing it up, like she was bracing for me to refuse. "Do you want to come?" she asked tentatively. "I understand if you don't after last time." I looked at her, trying to gauge what she really wanted. Was she asking because she thought it would help or because she felt guilty? Either way, I could see the hesitation in her eyes. She wanted me there, but feared what might happen. "Yeah," I said finally. "I'll come." Emma looked surprised. "You will?" "Of course," I said, giving her a small smile. "I'm not going to let Jennifer or anyone else make me feel unwelcome. Besides, you're my wife. Where you go, I go." Her face softened, and for the first time in days, she looked genuinely relieved. "Thank you, Marcus. That means everything to me." The night of the dinner, I approached things differently. I wasn't going to sit back and let Jennifer control the narrative. Instead, I was going to observe, to watch how she interacted with everyone. Not just me, but the whole group. From the moment we arrived, it was obvious Jennifer was in her element. She greeted everyone like she was hosting, even though the dinner was at another friend's house. Her laughter rang out deliberately, drawing attention to herself at every opportunity. When Emma and I walked in, Jennifer's eyes lit up, not with warmth, but something sharper, more calculating. She greeted Emma with a hug, then turned to me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Marcus," she said, overly sweet. "So good to see you again. I'm glad you decided to join us." "Thanks for having me," I replied, matching her tone. "It's always a pleasure." The subtle tension between us was almost tangible, but I kept my cool. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of knowing she'd gotten under my skin. As the evening progressed, I started noticing little things. How Jennifer would steer every conversation back to herself. How she'd throw in backhanded compliments, like telling Emma, "You're so lucky Marcus doesn't mind these events. Most men would hate being dragged to something so fancy." I also noticed how others responded. Some laughed nervously at her jokes, while others avoided eye contact entirely. It was clear Jennifer's dominance wasn't just about me. It was about the entire group. She thrived on their discomfort, their unwillingness to challenge her. But what stood out most was Emma. She was quieter than usual, more reserved. She didn't laugh as much, and when she did, it felt forced. I could see her glancing at me periodically, checking to make sure I was okay. By dessert, I'd learned everything I needed. Jennifer wasn't just trying to humiliate me. She was trying to control Emma too. She wanted to remind Emma that she was the alpha, the one who called the shots. And in doing so, she was testing Emma's loyalty. It was a game I'd seen before, but this time I wasn't going to let her win. I wasn't going to let her manipulate Emma into choosing between me and her so-called friends. When the night ended, Emma and I walked to the car in silence. Once inside, she turned to me, her expression filled with worry. "How was it?" she asked hesitantly. I looked at her for a long moment. "It was enlightening." She frowned. Enlightening? I nodded. Yeah, I saw exactly what Jennifer's trying to do. And Emma? It's not just about me, it's about you, too. She wants to control you, keep you in her orbit. But you don't have to let her. You're stronger than that. Emma didn't respond immediately, but I could see the gears turning. For the first time, I felt like she was starting to see things my way. And that was a start. As we drove home, I felt a sense of resolve. Jennifer might be playing her games, but I wasn't going to let her win. Not with Emma, not with me, not with us. By the time the next dinner invitation came around, I was ready. I'd spent enough time observing, watching Jennifer's games unfold, and seeing Emma struggle to balance her marriage with her friendships. I decided this time things would be different. This time I wouldn't let Jennifer's power plays go unanswered. Emma brought it up one evening after dinner. She seemed hesitant, walking on eggshells, and I already guessed why. Marcus, she began carefully, Jennifer and the others are planning another dinner this weekend at that new Italian place downtown. She asked if we'd like to come. I put down my coffee. She asked if we would like to come, I repeated, emphasizing the we. Emma nodded. Yes, I know how things have been, but maybe this is her way of trying to make amends. I raised an eyebrow. Jennifer, make amends? Emma, let's be honest, that's not her style. She sighed, running a hand through her hair. I know, but maybe if we go, things will be different. I just don't want there to be tension anymore. Her words hit me unexpectedly. I realized Emma wasn't just trying to appease Jennifer. She was trying to protect our relationship from the strain Jennifer was putting on it. While part of me wanted to refuse to avoid another humiliating evening, I knew staying home wasn't the answer. If we were going to move past this, we had to face it together. All right, I said finally. We'll go. But if Jennifer pulls anything, I'm not going to sit there and take it. Agreed? Emma nodded quickly, relief flooding her face. Agreed, and thank you, Marcus. I really appreciate it. When Saturday night arrived, I dressed impeccably. Tailored suit, polished shoes, everything. If Jennifer wanted to judge me, I'd give her nothing to work with. Emma looked stunning in a deep red dress, and as we walked into the restaurant together, I felt renewed determination. This was my turning point. I wasn't just there to observe anymore. I was there to make it clear I wouldn't be pushed around. The restaurant was elegant, all soft lighting and marble accents. Jennifer and the group were already seated, their laughter filling the space. As soon as Jennifer saw us, she waved us over with that same overly bright smile. Emma, Marcus, so glad you could join us, she said, standing to hug Emma quickly. She turned to me with a smirk. Marcus, I see you've dressed for the occasion. Very sharp. Thanks, Jennifer, I said evenly. Figured I'd rise to the level of company I'm keeping. Her smirk faltered briefly before recovering. Well, you've certainly made an effort. We took our seats, and the evening began. At first, things were surprisingly civil. Jennifer kept conversation light, steering clear of her usual digs. I wondered if Emma had actually gotten through to her, or if she was just waiting for the right moment to strike. It didn't take long to find out. Midway through the second course, Jennifer leaned back, swirling her wine glass. You know, Emma, she began casually but pointed. It's so wonderful you and Marcus can come to these events. It must be nice for him to experience something a bit upscale. There it was, the first jab of the night, wrapped in thin civility. I glanced at Emma, whose cheeks had turned pink. Before she could respond, I took control. It is nice, I said lightly, but upscale is all about perspective, isn't it? For some people, it's about the food and atmosphere. For others, it's about how they treat people around them. The table went quiet and Jennifer's smile froze. Well, she said after a beat, I suppose we all have our own definitions. We moved on, but tension lingered. Jennifer's jabs became subtler as the night progressed, but each time I countered with calm, measured responses. I wasn't rude or confrontational, just firm enough to make it clear I wasn't the easy target she thought. By dessert, the power balance had shifted. Jennifer was still trying to maintain dominance, but it wasn't working. The others were less engaged with her and more interested in the conversation Emma and I were having. For the first time, I felt like we weren't just enduring the evening, we were reclaiming it. As we stepped out of the restaurant that night, Emma gave my hand a soft squeeze. You were incredible, she whispered. I don't know how you stayed so calm. I gave a small shrug and smiled. Because this isn't about yelling, Emma. It's about proving people like Jennifer don't hold the power they think they do. She nodded slowly. You're right, and I think she finally got that. I didn't answer, but deep down, I felt a quiet rush of victory. Jennifer might not have admitted she'd lost, but she felt it. I could see it in her eyes. This was the shift I'd been waiting for, and I wasn't going to let her take control again. The next time Jennifer came into our lives, she tried to up the game. This wasn't just a simple dinner anymore. She planned something bigger, a move she thought would lock her grip on Emma and embarrass me at the same time. What she didn't know was that I'd been ready for this. It started when Emma told me Jennifer was hosting a fancy dinner at Villa Rosa, one of the city's top Italian spots. Emma described it like it was some grand event. Jennifer had reserved a private room and handpicked her closest friends. Emma brought it up carefully. "She wants us to come," she said one evening. "Actually, she really wants you to come." I set my cup down. Jennifer wants peace, or is she planning another show? Emma bit her lip. "I'm not sure, maybe both, but I think we should give her a chance." I heard the hope in her voice. My gut told me Jennifer wasn't done with her tricks, but I agreed. Not because I trusted her, but because it was time to settle this once and for all. On the night of the dinner, Emma and I arrived, dressed to impress. She wore a sleek navy dress that made her eyes shine. I put on my best suit, ready for whatever was coming. The place was as fancy as it gets. Marble floors, sparkling chandeliers, the kind of restaurant where prices aren't listed on the menu. As soon as we entered the private room, I knew something was off. Jennifer and her friends were already seated at a large table, laughing loudly like they owned the place. Every seat was taken. Not a single chair for me. Not even a space where one could have been. Jennifer spotted us and gave a fake, sugary smile. "Emma, Marcus, so glad you made it." Emma's cheeks turned red. Before she could speak, Jennifer did. "Oh, Emma, I'm so sorry," she said, voice dripping with false sweetness. "I must have miscounted. There's no seat for Marcus, but don't worry. The bar has great drinks." Emma froze, torn between me and her so-called friend. I stepped forward, my voice calm. "No problem, Jennifer. I'll handle it." I walked out before Emma could respond and went straight to the manager. He greeted me with a polished smile. "Mr. Thompson," he said warmly, "what can I do for you?" "I own this place," I said plainly. "There's a private party I need your help with." His eyes widened a little, then he nodded quickly. "Of course, sir. What do you need?" I told him. A few minutes later, we walked back into the room together. Jennifer was mid-laugh when the manager cut in. "Excuse me," he said politely but firm. "There's been a mistake. This room is reserved for Mr. Thompson and his guests. I'll need your party to move." The table fell silent. Jennifer stared at me, her face twisting from confusion to anger. "What? I booked this weeks ago?" The manager gestured toward me. "Mr. Thompson owns the restaurant. He's generously offered to cover your bill tonight, but this room belongs to him." Her cheeks turned bright red. "You own this place?" I nodded. "Yes, Jennifer. And it looks like there was a miscount, just not the kind you expected." The group shifted uncomfortably. Emma sat frozen, clearly humiliated. "Please find another table for these guests," I said to the manager. He nodded, guiding Jennifer and her friends out. She glared at me on her way past, but I didn't blink. I sat down next to Emma. She had tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I didn't think she'd pull something like this." I reached for her hand. "Emma, this wasn't a mistake. Jennifer doesn't respect you, or us. She wanted control, and she thought she could get it." Emma wiped her eyes, her voice low. "I know. I just didn't want to admit it." "I get it," I said gently. "But you don't need her approval. You never did." She looked at me then, something fierce sparking behind her tears. "You're right. I'll talk to her. I'll make it clear this ends now." For the first time, it felt like we finally saw things the same way. Jennifer's tricks had gone too far, and even though I knew she wouldn't stop easily, I also knew Emma and I were stronger together. When we finished dinner alone in that private room, it didn't feel like a small win. It felt like a shift, a moment that could change our marriage. And I wasn't going to let Jennifer ruin that. The night at Villa Rosa changed everything. The drive home was quiet. Neither of us spoke. I didn't push her to talk. She needed space to sort it all out. Jennifer had crossed every line, and for once Emma saw it as clearly as I did. At home, Emma finally spoke. She sat on the couch, shoulders low, tears in her eyes. "Marcus," she whispered, "I'm sorry. I didn't see how much Jennifer was playing us." I sat beside her, giving her room to speak. Her voice shook as she went on. "I thought she was just being bossy, like always, but tonight I saw it. She wasn't just trying to embarrass you. She wanted me to choose her over us. She wanted control. I nodded slowly. Emma, I've been trying to tell you. I know your friends matter to you, but Jennifer doesn't care about what's best for you. She only cares about herself, and she'll hurt anyone who gets in her way, even you. She wiped her tears. Something changed in her face. Sadness turned into resolve. You're right. I see it now. I'm done letting her make me feel small. I'm done trying to earn her approval. If keeping her in my life means losing our respect for each other, then I don't need her. Her words lifted a weight off my chest. I'd felt alone in this fight for so long. But now Emma stood with me. She wasn't just sorry. She was ready to act. And for the first time, I believed we could move forward. The next day, Emma called Jennifer. She didn't tell me everything that was said, but when she hung up, she looked calm. It's over, she said simply. I told her her behavior was wrong and I need space. If she can't respect me or us, then she's out of my life. I knew how hard that must have been for her, but I was proud. She'd taken her power back, not for me, for herself. She'd drawn a line Jennifer couldn't cross. The weeks after felt like a breath of fresh air. Without Jennifer's shadow hanging over us, Emma and I grew closer. We spent more time together. Our nights felt light again, full of laughter and real talks. It was like the storm had passed and we could finally see each other clearly. Even social events changed. Without Jennifer taking over, the group felt more relaxed. People opened up. I actually enjoyed being around them. Turns out not everyone shared Jennifer's toxic ways. She'd just been the loudest voice in the room. One night, while getting ready for a party, Emma looked at me thoughtfully. I've been thinking about Jennifer, she said, fixing her earrings. Thinking? I asked. She nodded. I used to see her as this big, powerful person I needed to impress. But now I see she's just scared. She hides it behind control and manipulation. I don't forgive what she did, but I can't hate her either. I hope she figures herself out. Her words surprised me, but they reminded me why I loved her. Emma's kindness always showed through, even after pain. You're better than most, I told her with a smile. But remember, it's not your job to fix her. I know, she said softly. She has to do that on her own. At the party, everything felt different. The room was light. People laughed freely. Emma glowed, her joy filling the space, and I felt proud watching her stand tall again. Later, one of her friends came up to me. It's nice having you both around, she said. Without certain distractions, it's easy to see how good you two are together. I smiled. Thanks. We're in a good place now. On the drive home, Emma reached for my hand. I don't think I've ever felt this happy, she said softly. Not just with us, but with life. It feels calm. I squeezed her hand. That's because we found our balance. And no one, not Jennifer or anyone else, can take that from us. And it was true. Losing Jennifer wasn't a loss. It forced us to face the cracks, fix them, and come out stronger. I couldn't say I truly wished her well, but I hoped she found peace somewhere far away. Now, Emma and I are free. Free of the chaos, full of respect, and stronger than ever. We learned something real. The hardest battles aren't always against other people. Sometimes they're the ones we fight inside ourselves, and together, we won.